Eng the for you memory I shouldn't have seen. Apple Photos is cruel in a polite way. It waits until morning to ambush you. I was stirring coffee when the banner bloomed over my lock screen like a waiter appearing at the exact second you decide you're fine. A memory for you. The thumbnail was our city in soft gold, a scrape of balcony rail, a hand at the edge of the frame that looked like my wife's. I tapped without telling myself not to. The album opened into a stitched little film, strings, gentle pans, the algorithms guess at tenderness. Lena on a hotel bed I didn't recognize, shoes off, laughing at something to the left of the camera. The next clip was a mirror selfie of the bathroom sink, the kind hotels buy when they want you to forgive them for the bill, a glass on the counter, a lemon wedge. In the mirror, in the field of blur where faces usually become ghosts, the software had helpfully drawn a white circle around a shape and suggested a name in neat sans serif. Me. It was my name under a reflection I wasn't in. The face was a man's, yes, stubble, dark jacket, but not mine. Apple had matched him to me, and now my own phone was saying with the cheerful idiocy of machines that I had been in a room I had never touched. Lena had gone to the studio early, the socks she leaves cooling on the chair back, the mug by the sink printing her mouth on porcelain. I took my coffee to the window and watched a delivery van pretend to be fate. The memory kept playing. A balcony. A slice of river pretending to be shy. Another clip of a table with 2 plates and nobody sitting. Then a live photo I didn't ask for. 1.5 seconds of a door pushing against a sticky lock and Lena's voice, soft, half laughing, saying without knowing she'd be overheard, "Push first." I pressed my thumb hard enough to stop the video and tasted metal that wasn't in my mouth. Then I scrolled to the metadata the way men go through trash when they hope to find conscience. The memory had been automatically curated for me based on people and place and date. And the date was yesterday. It is possible to call and become a parody of yourself. It is also possible to go find the truth you built a life to hold. I put on the jacket Lena says makes me look like a thought I haven't had yet and walked toward the river with a pace I pretended wasn't urgent. The hotel at the tag's address was the Linden Annex, the smaller, clever sibling of the big show-off with the lobby we'd mocked on our anniversary. The annex smelled like cedar and ambition. I walked into the lobby the way a man does who hasn't decided who he is yet and asked the desk for nothing. I stood by a planter and let the room indict itself. You can learn a lot from how people look at you when they don't know what story they're in. A couple laughed in whispers near the elevator. A woman in a blazer asked the bartender for sparkling water with just the suggestion of lime, which is exactly the sort of sentence rich people say when they're superstitious. I took a picture of the mirror behind the bar, and with a kind of hatred that felt like scholarship, pinched to zoom. The wallpaper matched the blur in the memory. I went home and waited like a houseplant with a better education. When the lock turned, Lena stepped in with the eyes of someone who has already played 3 possible arguments in her head and decided to try none of them. "You've been up," she said, not asking. "Do we want to be cinematic or boring?" "Boring," I said. "Boring saves lives." She came to the counter and set her hands on either side of the memory I'd left open. She didn't flinch when the live photo looped again. She watched herself say, "Push first," and then breathe. Then she breathed at our kitchen. "Kitchen or small room?" she asked. "Here," I said. "I want the fridge to keep us from lying." She nodded and looked at me as if she could move furniture with her eyes if she needed to. "I went to see a light," she said. "The sponsor wanted me to stand in it after hours. He said the annex had a balcony with the right kind of honest. We went up. He turned his mouth into a sentence about the way I look when I'm not managing. I kissed him once to stop him from telling me what my face means. I didn't like the taste of what I was turning into. I left. He took the picture in the room while I was finding my bag. Apple harvested it because Apple loves anything it didn't have to ask for. It thought the ghost was you because it loves me in ways that make me nervous. "What did you want?" I said, making my voice as friendly to answers as I could. "To see if a door could make me someone else," she said. "It couldn't. It made me someone predictable. I came home because you are where my face belongs when it isn't performing." I could have performed then. The monologue about vows, the quiet annihilation, the righteous retreat. Instead, I took the menu we write rules on, the one with grease ghosts from 1,000 good decisions, and uncapped a pen. "Truth before algorithm," I wrote. She nodded and came around the counter so we were close enough to be idiots and still read. "If a memory is made for you," she said, tapping the phone with a nail painted competent, "it belongs to us." I wrote, "If you think you need a door for your face, ask me to open a window." She smiled in spite of herself, then added, "If a sponsor wants to show me light, I invite the person who knows where the switches live." We were almost laughing. We were also vibrating with the kind of heat honest people earn when they survive a test they never wanted. She reached up and set her mouth to my neck the way you put a seal on a letter you actually intend to send. I put my hands on her hips, both, fully, and she made the soft, involuntary sound that turns every room we own into something more professional than romance. "Storm or quiet," she said against me. "Storm," I said, "because lightning with manners is my favorite weather." We kissed until the kitchen remembered to let us. She stepped back onto the toes of her bare feet, and I lifted her onto the counter not because counters are sexy, but because the person I love was there and gravity agreed. We moved with the attention of people who have paid for care with stupid bliss. Her hand slid under my shirt and anchored me to the day we were choosing. When she breathed my name, it wasn't a plea. It was a location. We stopped when stopping would keep this from becoming a speech. We didn't pretend we had forgiven anything. We decided we had chosen. Later, after our foreheads had practiced relief, I opened the Photos app and deselected the shared library option for one album. Not because I am afraid of pictures, because I like the ritual of telling machines the house now has a better archivist. The next day, the annex sent an email to our shared inbox because capitalism cannot resist a sequel. "We hope you enjoyed your memory," it said, slick as a brochure. "Guests often forget to download." Lena forwarded it to me with a subject line that just said, "Nope." Then she wrote to the sponsor and said, in that particular tone of hers that makes men reconsider their posture, "No more private after hours. Bring your adjectives to the boardroom or leave them on the balcony." He replied with a sentence that auditioned for decent and made the shortlist. Then he didn't reply again. The city tried its stunts. Apple served me a new memory of our trip to the shore 2 summers ago, and I watched it without flinching. A florist called to confirm a delivery and mispronounced my last name with such confidence I almost let him be right. The annex ran an ad with a picture of a woman on a balcony in a dress my wife could pull off and didn't need to. A week later, my phone announced a newness with the same unearned tenderness. "A memory for you," it said, and showed the two of us at our kitchen table, flour on our hands, the dough on the counter a declaration of war against restaurants. I pressed play. The algorithm had learned one trick I wanted to respect. It hadn't pulled in any ghosts. It let us have our faces. Of course we saw him again. The city is small when you owe it money. At a gala where wine shakily tried to become personality, Theo drifted over with a practiced humility. "I'm worse at goodbyes than I thought," he said to Lena, not to me. "I'm practicing." We all are, she said, and then, because my wife is unkind only when she's brave, practice somewhere that doesn't sell mirrors. He nodded and left with the manners you learn when you finally believe you're not the protagonist. He lifted a hand at me across the room in a gesture that translated loosely to thank you for not making me a sport. I let him have it. I am generous when I can afford it. That night we didn't do rules or philosophy. We did dishes and then pressed our bodies together the way people do when they have decided to be alive on purpose. She dragged the edge of her teeth along my shoulder like she was figuring out how hard not to be. I answered with the pressure I've learned gets us both to the same future. We stopped before the night had a chance to make us actors. We slept the way people do when guilt finally runs out of narration. The annex sent another email months later, this time a survey with too many hearts. I clicked a single heart by mistake, and the page confettied as if I had endorsed something. I closed the laptop and went to find Lena in the small room. She was sitting cross-legged under the ugly lamp, writing with a concentration I can see from the hall. She looked up and made the face she makes when I arrive before my worst story about myself, and she said, "Storm or quiet?" "Both," I said, "in that order." She stepped over and kissed me until our ribs agreed to behave, and then we lay on the rug with the lamp dimmed and she said, "Tell me something boring." "We're out of flour," I said. "There's a chip in the blue plate. The city can't decide whether to be spring and I'm not mad at it." "That's very boring," she said, and smiled into my mouth, which is the only way I like being congratulated. I still get the banners. Apple is incapable of not trying to be helpful. When a memory arrives, I try to let it be a postcard from a place I actually went. If it's a trick, I walk into the kitchen and show it to Lena and we decide whether to make it ours or send it back. The balcony still exists. The lock still sticks. Sometimes when we're dressing to go nowhere, she says lightly, "Push first," and I say, "I know," and the door opens and the house, our unglamorous, steady house, lights itself without any sponsor at all.